I feel like shit.
Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days.
It's just one of those
happy days. The weekend comes, let's not go out.
It's just one of those days where you don't want to wake up. Everything is everybody sucks. You don't really know why, but you want to justify ripping someone's head off. No human contact, and if you interact, your life is on contract. Your best bet is
Just knock it off, you scum bucket.
it's just one of those days. It's just one of those.
Happy days.
It's just one of those.
Happy days.
It's just one of those
Happy
days.
The weekend comes, let's not go out. Ready to experience.
It's just one of those days, feeling like a freight train. First one to complain, leaves with a bloodstain. Damn right, I'm a maniac. You better shoot, cause I'm fucking up your program. And you go stuck up, you just locked up. Next in line to get fucked up. Your best bet is to stay away, motherfucker. It's just,
I'm losing my cool.
it's all about it.
Happy days.
It's just one of those,
Happy days.
it's just one of those
Happy
days.
The weekend comes, let's not go out. Ready to experience.
Feel like shit. My suggestion is keep the distance. Right now I'm dangerous. Right now I'm dangerous.
Something's happening to the bonds.
My day keeps going this way and this right.
I'm gonna pop you one so you'll stop playing games.
Give me something great. Give me something great. I hope you know I'm like a chainsaw. A chainsaw. A motherfucking chainsaw.
What?
So come and get it.
What we got here is a case of mistaken identity, you know? See, now this here,
Not Robert.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chief Moody, and welcome to episode 71 of the Mood of the Nation podcast. I hope everyone has had a fantastic weekend. Today actually marks the first day of spring, and it really does feel like that with the sun being out. It's actually been a lot warmer than usual. As a matter of fact, I'll definitely cut to this story real quick. I was out with the guys from PA Scotland yesterday. Some of them from more of like the central branch, if you will. We all got together up in a little town called, or I think it's a village called Tillicoultry, just close to. It's not really too close to Stirling, but it's a bit. It's near Stirling. I'll say that. Half of us got together, did leafleting. Some of us did litter picking, and just basically doing our usual stuff. It was really great fun. I really enjoyed doing it. And of course, yesterday again, it was really good weather. The sun was out. It wasn't actually too cold or anything like that at all. But no, I was really happy with that because I really expected it to be cold, but it wasn't. So good to see that the spring is finally here, and I believe next week the clocks will be going forward. So I really can't wait for that. Anyways. I'll come back to that story as well. Let me just have a look and see who's in the chat just now. Now, another thing too is there are a couple of articles I'll definitely cover today and some things I want to talk about. So I don't know how long it will make the show for. I don't know if it will go on for the full 2 hours, but we'll see. We'll definitely see with that. So let's have a look and see who's here. Gammon Sandwich, how you doing? How do journalists sleep? And I believe Durham Fox gave the answer during the day and in the coffin, Gammon. So I would I would be led to assume that these journalists are basically vampires, just sucking off the bloodline or the bloodline or the life force of a person or something like that. Anyway, but we also have Fox in the chat. How you doing? Thanks very much for watching the show. Also didn't advocate. Sorry, how you doing? Thanks very much for watching the show. We also have Amanda Lee, even all 14. I will be lurking in the background while cooking, burning Sunday dinner. No worries. Thank you very much for watching the show or listening to the show. I greatly appreciate it. We also have Budgie Burger in the chat. How you doing? And we have Kenny Hinney. How you doing? Thanks very much for watching the show. We also have English Rose. Hello, everyone. I hope you've all had a lovely weekend. It was same to yourself, English Rose. Thank you very much for being here. We also have Kitchen Skillet. Good evening to you too. Thanks very much for being here. Let's see, we have Rory Herbert. Good evening to you too, sir. Thank you very much for being here. We also have Turbo Duckhead. Evening, guys. Evening to you too, Turbo. Thanks very much for being here. Who else is here? Rigor Mortis. Evening to you too. Thanks very much for being here. Let me see. Tricky Who. How you doing? Thanks very much for watching the show, Chief Moody, and also everyone in the chat. Thanks very much for being here. Inshallah, Streaky Bacon. Thanks very much for watching the show. I greatly appreciate you being here. And we have Jemima Puddle Duck is in the chat saying first day of spring, which of course I've already talked about, which that's definitely true. And also thank you very much for watching the show. We also have English Sailor as per usual. Thanks very much for watching the show. We have Roscoe in the chat. Good evening to you too, Roscoe. Thanks very much for being here. Who else is here? I think I've seen a couple more. Oh, of course, we've got Joe Marsh. Hello, Joe. Thanks very much for watching the show. Greatly appreciate you being here. We also have Felix Boru, the tip after dark, or Felix for short. Afternoon all, good health. Same to yourself, Felix. Thank you very much for watching the show. Picking Gaz 1972. Good evening to you too. Kingdom of Vinland. Hi from Sovngarde, Finland. Even to you too, Kingdom. Thanks very much for watching the show. Also, my younger daughter's birthday today. Well, happy birthday to your younger daughter, Rory. That's great to hear. Really great to hear. Let me see. I think that's me up to date with the chat. Excellent. That's really good stuff. Right then. I think I'll just continue on with the story I told before I had to look into the chat and see who was here. So we did all of that yesterday. We all met up around about 10 a.m. in the morning, and we finished up just about 1 o'clock. I think technically it was 12, but I think we stuck around for a bit just so we can all have a proper chat with each other. And then we departed around about 1-ish and regarding to that. During that conversation, the leaflets some of the guys were handing out for Tony regarding to that. A lot of people, so once we've done all the leafleting, all that's been done, a lot of people actually came up to Tony like when he's not with PA or anything like that at all and would ask him about the leaflets. So for a lot of people who may have their doubts about leafleting or about litter picking, like it doesn't really do much for the community building, or it doesn't really spread our message across. A lot of people do come up to Tony and ask him about the leaflets, which again, that definitely should tell you that people do read these leaflets and actually are interested about the overall subject matter, whether it's something that they agree with or something that they don't agree with. Ultimately speaking, people are interested and people are actually reading these leaflets. And also another thing too is with regards to the M8 bridge. Last week, I think it was. Of course, a lot of the guys were up. Good evening to you too, No Name. Thanks very much for watching the show. A lot of the guys, including myself, went to the M8 Bridge in Glasgow, doing a bit of a banner drop. Both banner drops consist of White Lives Matter, and of course the Chris Donald memorial banner. We strapped it on the side of the bridge. And again, really good stuff. Now, in terms of people showing their support, which actually people can check out the video if they haven't done so already, which I think I've already shared the link in the previous episode if people haven't seen it already with that. But as I mentioned in the previous episode, I'm pretty sure I've said this as well, a lot of people did show a lot of support for our cause. Like people thought this was a great thing we were doing. Yes, there were like a small minority of people who showed vitriol towards us, like throwing up the wanker gesture, or like giving us the flipping us off with the bird or something like that. But ultimately speaking, I think one of the guys even said it best. I'm not going to say their names just in case they're not like a public figure or anything like that at all, but they've pretty much said it best when they said 80% of the people who drove past the banners under the M8 bridge, about 80% of them showed support for us, whereas maybe 20% don't agree with that, or maybe it's 10% don't agree with that, or maybe it's 5% that don't agree with that, where the rest of it amount might be people who don't ultimately care one way or the other. But ultimately speaking, more people did show support for what we were doing. Now then, that being said, this where it leads into the article in question for today. Now, this came out last night on around about 9 o'clock, and I found this out this morning when I woke up. But before I get into that, let me just see another couple of of the comments in the chat. I saw the pics. Well done. All white lives have always mattered for the glory of the Gale. Sorry, indeed they do, Felix. Thank you very much for that. And also 10% got black boyfriends. Well, I mean, I don't ultimately know, but I mean, it's a possibility with that. Send some communum, even to you too. Thanks very much for being in the chat, and also thank you very much for sharing the stream. And also Mark Collett, thank you very much for sharing the stream if you're watching. Also, people, at 7 p.m. tonight on Mark's Odyssey channel, I'll definitely post a link in the chat later on for people to go on to. But there will be another episode of the Nationalist Team with Mark, Sam, Patriarch, and Barclay. That will be streaming on Mark's Odyssey channel later on this evening. I'm not too sure what game they'll be playing. I think it's going to be PUBG or something like that. I don't know, something to that effect. But if people are interested, I'll post a link towards the end of the show tonight. Hopefully, if we do make it like a 2-hour length episode. But if it doesn't go that length, the show itself will be streaming on Mark's Odyssey channel, and it will stream at 7 p.m. GMT. So, of course, that would be our time. And I believe that would be 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're in America or around about that area of the world, that's the time it would be regarding to that. Now then, let's get right into the meat and potatoes of the show, shall we? I see there's 29 people watching the show already, which is really good. Hopefully more people will be coming along. But if not, again, that's a really good turnout for me. Really good stuff to see. Felix, real quick. My seventh is born in June. May second daughter. I can't wait. Excellent. Congratulations, Felix. Let me see. Oh, Ansali. Hello, Ansali. Thanks very much for watching. I actually enjoy watching Mark's PUBG streams. It's really funny when he loses his shit. I mean, I do try and watch them here and there, but PUBG is not like the game I've always really been interested in. But that being said, I usually try and watch them if I can, from time to time. Because after I do a stream on a Sunday, I just want to just basically chill out and relax after that. So maybe if I can, I'll see if I can give a quick watch later on tonight. Even if I don't watch the whole thing, I'll see if I can watch it, throughout the week and whatnot. Right then, and also again, as I said, thanks very much for being here, Aunt Sally. Greatly appreciate it. Let's get right into the first article in question. Let me see if I can share the screen real quick, and then we'll get started. Now, I'm sure everyone in the chat may have already read through this article already, and also even to Jacob J4746. Thank you very much again for being here again, as per usual. Let's have a look and see this from the Sun newspaper. You all know where this is going, folks. Disgusting. Scots far-right group hijacked Chris Donald race hate murder anniversary to stage mock memorial. Already, this is just complete, patently false with just the header of the title of this article. Before I go any further, I'm just going to quickly drink my mug of Grandma Taller's tea in my, of course, Soap Not Hate mug by Clean and Pure. Thank you very much. Of course, no any advertising or anything like that at all. But I just thought I would bring that up in this case. So, let's have a look at this. Now, as I said, this came to my attention this morning. This article in particular was released last night on the 19th of March. As it says, of course, around about just after 9 p.m. This came to my attention this morning because I first heard about this yesterday, just before I left to meet up with the guys at PA Scotland. And there were talks about, I think it was Laura that shared a post about it. There were talks about the Sun, the newspaper, of course, we're going to do a hit piece on PA Scotland. And of course, funny enough, this would be this very article that came out with it. Now, let's have a look in this just right now. Here we go. Far-right fanatics hijacked the anniversary of schoolboy Chris Donald's race hate murder in a bid to recruit new members. Patriarchal Patriotic Alternative Scotland, or PAS. We never call it PAS. We call it PA Scotland, but all right, whatever. Shamelessly used the 15-year-old's death to stage a remembrance service, quote unquote, at his memorial bench for victims of anti-white violence before flying the banner bearing his face over the M8 in Glasgow. So, right then, this first sentence, they're accusing us of exploiting the death of Chris Donald. Now, as someone who's part of Patriotic Alternative Scotland, or even just PA in general, that was never our intention. Our intention in this memorial, which is a real honest-to-God memorial, by the way, this was not faked or staged or anything like that at all, because we wanted as many people there as humanly possible. And the point of it was we wanted to remember Chris Donald, because what happened to him, of course, was absolutely horrible, should never have happened to begin with. But regardless of that, it happened, and we want to remember him for that. Now, this idea of exploiting Chris Donald to recruit new members or to bring a certain what do you want to call it, cause, or this idea of anti-white hatred. Well, just to mention about anti-white hatred, I mean, again, I know this is something I talk about on the show multiple times, or even other people on similar streams like this would talk about this over and over and over again, but it's absolutely true. It bears repeating, and it needs to be said. At this point in time, there is clearly an anti-white agenda being forced down on everyone's throat, especially in countries here in the West. There's an agenda going on that has been going on for a long time. Even just go have a look at the official PA website. There's a page that says in memoriam, and you'll see all kinds of victims, including Chris Donald, who've been victims of this multiculturalism experiment that's been going on. And even the people like Chris Donald were killed because they were white. The perpetrators themselves even said this. Like, this is clearly a racial motivated attack. But of course, let's just completely throw that under the rug, because that goes against our agenda that diversity or multiculturalism works. Now, when it comes to the next part here about exploitation, because that's another what would they call it? Another point they brought up, like, oh, you're exploiting the death of Chris Donald just for attention or something like that. I want to ask the person who wrote this article. I believe their name is Chris Taylor. Now, I don't know if they're watching this. I highly doubt they'll be watching it. But if they will be watching it, I have one simple question I'd like to ask in regard to quote-unquote exploiting Chris Donald. What about people like Steve Lawrence or George Floyd or anyone who the left or even the establishment, for that matter, would use their deaths to promote a bullshit agenda, whether it be Black Lives Matter or LGBT rights or anything like that at all? Would you consider that to be exploitive? Would you consider those deaths to be exploited by the ruling classes or by the establishment? It's kind of funny how whenever we want to do something like this, remembering somebody, and also like Chris Donald, and also to point out, hey, this type of hatred exists, and this is what's going on right now. All of a sudden, we're the ones being promoting exploitation. Apparently, really funny that, isn't it? The blatant double standard of it all. Excuse me. Hold on one second. There's even, as I've seen, text underneath the images. So for this one, for instance, a far-right group used Chris's name to push their twisted agenda at an M8 bridge in Glasgow, which is funny because, as I mentioned earlier on, with myself and all the other guys, when we were on the bridge, more people showed support for us and our cause and the message we were trying to give out on that bridge than people who were completely disagreed with us. So we actually gained more support for it than what this paper is trying to make it out, as if like people were disgusted with it or were horrified by what they've seen. But I'm sure that'll get brought up later on in this article, because I did have to read through this a couple of times this morning. And let's have a look here. Chris Donald, 15, was abducted at random and tortured by a race hate gang. So even, and that's another thing, by the way, even the newspaper itself is saying that this was a race hate attack, or the gang who were Pakistani men who killed Chris because he was white. Even they're saying this is a racially motivated attack. So what seems to be the issue here? What, because we're the ones who are pro-white and want to maintain the majority of these islands to be all white countries? Is that the issue here? Because honestly, reading through this article, it doesn't sound like somebody who's like a leftist would write. This sounds like somebody who would be like a Sithna or like a centrist or anything like that would write an article like this. You know, your Sargon types or anyone like that. But anyway, and also pay attention to the sentence structure and the words being used here, by the way, because the mob had previously failed in a bid to name a bridge over the motorway after the teen. So we're not like a group of people, we're a mob, as if we're like a gang of thugs or something like that. Again, pay attention to the language here. It's really important regarding to this article. And also, just to make a point about this with regard to the quote-unquote failed petition that was made or in a bid to name. So, of course, this is basically talking about the petition Kenny Smith created, which, of course, that petition, if I remember correctly, is still on the PA website. Let me actually I'll just come back onto this real quick and I'll see if I can quickly find it, because I think it's actually important to bring this up. Let me see here, just quickly find that real quick, and then I'll get back on to the article. Just trying to see where maybe I can. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Petition Chris Donald Bridge. Right. What I'll do is I'll just get to this here real quick. How many signatures has it got? Since it's still 1,844 signatures out of 2,000. All right. I mean, it's still quite a lot, although it would be nice to maybe reach the 2,000 mark. But hold on one second. Let me see if I can put that quote or not that link here. This would be the link for the PA petition for naming the M8 bridge after Chris Donald. So please, folks, if you haven't done so already, please click the link, put your name into it, and also please have this petition to reach its goal of 2,000 signatures. I think that would be important here. Now, the reason why this is on the PA website, because it was on another website, and I can't remember which website it was. I think it was petition.org or something like that. It was a petition that was made by Kenny Smith, who thought it would be a great idea, which it is, of course, to have this M8 bridge be named after Chris Donald, because originally it was going to be named after some fucking foreigner who was not born in this country, but because of the fact that he was attacked by another foreigner or something like that, all of a sudden, let's name the bridge after that guy. Well, he wasn't even born in Glasgow. He wasn't even born in Scotland, for that matter. He was a fucking immigrant. But instead of that, let's just name it after the migrant instead of naming it after Chris Donald. So that's where this idea came about with Kenny. This is why Kenny, instead of naming it after the foreigner, let's name it after Chris Donald, because Chris Donald was born in Glasgow. He was born in Scotland, of course. And of course, this attack happened in Glasgow. So it would be great to honor his memory by naming the M8 bridge after Chris Donald. Now, that petition was up, and it got a lot of attraction, by the way, from people within our circles. As a matter of fact, from what I remember from that petition itself, before it was taken down, which I'll get to in a sec, it had around about, say, 4,000 plus, just under, I think it was under 5,000 signatures, if I'm not mistaken. But again, that was really good. It really showed that people actually support the idea, and this idea of people were disgusted by this whole thing, what we're doing with Chris Donald. Again, complete fucking bullshit. Complete fucking bullshit. However, what happened was I don't know if it was a politician or if it was some public figure. I think it might have been a politician, someone from the Scottish government or parliament, I should say, saw the petition itself and found out who wrote it, in this case being Kenny Smith. I would imagine they may have done a bit of research in Kenny Smith, who he was, and decided, you know what, this is inciting hatred or something to that effect, and decided we need to close this petition down because we don't want anything like this to promote any kind of hatred whatsoever. Which, I mean, how fucking bullshit is that? How is wanting to name a sorry, excuse me. How is naming a bridge after after Chris Donald, who again was born in Glasgow and is Scottish, how is that inciting hatred or anything like that at all, or promoting hatred? That just spoke many volumes, and the only thing I could say with that was it really did show this idea that yes, there actually is anti-white hatred going on, and that was a prime example of this. Whether people see it or not, it's an example of let's not do that because we want this bridge to be named after a foreigner. We don't want it to be named after Chris Donald because Chris Donald being white and this foreigner being brown. So, of course, we want to promote this bullshit agenda of multiculturalism and all of that. And Chris Donald, well, what does he get? He gets a fucking bench. A bench that named after him, or that's has a plaque on the bench, you know, in memory of Chris Donald and anything like that. Well, that's all he fucking gets. Meanwhile, fucking Steve Lawrence, like, regardless of what fucking happened to him, his mother is in, what, Parliament or something like that, as, I don't know if it was like an MP or something like that, but basically she's part of Parliament and now putting through laws in respect for, like Steve Lawrence and all of that. And look what happened to fucking George Floyd. The family exploited George Floyd's death and garnered a lot of money out of that. And even to this day, people still regard George Floyd as a fucking saint, despite the fact if people did basic research into George Floyd, they'll find out that George Floyd was an absolute criminal fucking scumbag. So much of a scumbag, he threatened a pregnant woman by pointing a gun at her stomach where her baby is, and threatened to kill both her and her unborn baby. But suddenly it's like, no, let's just House of Lords. That's it. Thank you very much, English sailor. And she's a lord. Yes, thank you very much for pointing that out in the chat, folks. Thank you for that. So it's like, oh, let's just completely just throw that out of the window and try to make out that George Floyd was a saint. He was a good guy. He would never harm a fly. He never did anything wrong, apparently. And it's fucking. Again, it just goes to show the blatant double standard of our society we're living in just now. And that's not just here in the UK, that's all across the West. Let me see. David Lawrence, senior researcher at charity Hope Not Hate, here we go, says the group harbors extremists. He said Patriotic Alternative is a band of opportunistic fascists with racism at the very heart of its politics. PAS, or PA Scotland, is opportunistically trying to stir up tensions in communities across the UK, and their cynical exploitation of the murder of Chris Donald is just another example. I'm assuming they're talking about the banner drop at Ben Nevis, because I mean, I remember I wasn't at Ben Nevis, as I talked about before, but I remember at the time a lot of people making articles about that, like saying, "Oh, this is just horrible. They're promoting they're promoting racism or anything like that, just for having a banner that reads White Lives Matter." Well, I remember that, and all of us were talking about it. That they think we were promoting some kind of promoting hatred or anything like that, which is not true whatsoever. Let's see. Where was I? I think why is it not allowing me to go down with the arrow key? Or I might as well just use the keyboard. Patriotic Alternative Scotland, formed by ex-BNP Youth Wing boss Mark Collett, age 41, has been branded the country's biggest fascist threat. Dozens of activists flocked to tragic Chris's bench to hear right-wing rants during a mock service. Right, so we never walked to this bench. We flocked to it, apparently. And it wasn't a speech that was given by Psy, which of course people have listened to that same speech in the official video PA Scotland have released. No, that wasn't a speech, apparently. That was a rant he made, quote unquote. And during a mock service, like what in what way is it a mock service? It's an actual memorial service. We wanted as many people there as possible because we wanted to remember Chris Donald, because what happened to him, nobody seemed to talk about it. No one ever seemed to bring this up anymore. In fact, I've talked about this in the previous episode, but when I was at the pub with some of the guys at PA Scotland, I think it was the Glasgow branch I was with, we were just talking about some of the stuff about Chris Donald. There was a guy I spoke to. I mentioned this already, but just for the context here, I'll mention this again. And I'm not going to mention their name, of course, just for privacy's sake. But they know a friend. They were talking to this friend while we were in the pub, and his friend didn't know who Chris Donald was. Not only that, but his friend didn't even know what happened to Chris Donald. And then the guy I was speaking to, he pretty much told his friend about Chris Donald, what happened to him, and all of that. And his friend was fucking shocked about it. Again, most of our kids, or most of our people like today, know more about George Floyd or Steve Lawrence than they do with Chris Donald. And that's just so fucking sad. That's not just, actually, no, it's not just sad. It's tragic that our people are not really being talked about, not being remembered properly, but instead we're remembering a bunch of foreigners who don't even fucking live here. And Steve Lawrence, again, he's not British, he's African, but we seem to remember him than we do for people like Chris Donald. Again, that should speak many, many volumes of what exactly is going on here. Just having a quick look at the chat, then I'll continue on with the article itself. Masked men like half the population during the scamdemic promoted by the mainstream media, of course. They always refer to PA in a pejorative manner in order to paint them in a constant negative and hateful light. Exactly that. But what's actually interesting is, and I know that there'd be this idea of, oh well, don't talk to like journalists or anything like that. But I think it would be actually good to maybe hear some people from our side actually giving our opinions across and all of that. Actually speak to the people who are part of these groups, or not even just that. More ideally, speak to the people who actually support like this group and what they're doing. Because, like I said, when we were at that bridge, we had more support than we had, say, naysayers during that day, which actually was very white pilling for a lot of the guys who were there. Let me see. Masked men filmed themselves at the site near where he died in Glasgow's East End on March 15th, 2004. Then they hung anti-white hatred kills and white lives matter banners from a motorway bridge near the city's Fort shopping centre. Let me see here. So this one here, the anti-white hatred kills, which is funny because notice how, so this part here, that was at one of the banners. So the White Lives Matter banner, that's just a separate banner. That was one of the banners. Notice how with this one here, the anti-white hatred kills, yes, that's on one of the banners, but on that same banner, by the way, it has an image of Chris Donald and has a saying, rest in peace or remember Chris Donald. Something to that effect. But it didn't just say anti-white hatred kill. So it's interesting to see that they just either I don't want to say they've forgotten about it. I think it was purposely left out because again, as English Rose said in the chat, they're trying to spin it in a pejorative way to make us look as bad as humanly possible. It claimed Chris had been made a sacrifice on the altar of multiculturalism, and that tolerance is not a virtue and diversity is not our strength. Well, I think that's a prime example of this, because who were the perpetrators who killed Chris in the first place, and why did they kill him? The perpetrators themselves were Pakistani, and as I mentioned in my speech, and I talked about this before, the reason why they killed Chris Donald was because he was a white boy. And even after when all this case was going on, the newspapers, of course, were talking about it. And I even remember the papers themselves were trying to underplay the reasoning, as it were, because the perpetrators themselves said they killed him because he was white. And then, of course, the mainstream media trying to make it out as if, like, well, Chris was somewhat in the wrong here. He had a bit of a beef with like the family members of these perpetrators, and then that's who started this whole beef in the first place. As if that's a justification of this whole murder to happen in the first place. It's completely ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. Let me see here. Chris was abducted at random by a gang menace from his home in Pollokshields, Glasgow. Notice how they never really bring up the race of the perpetrators, but that's beside the point. The evil mob led by Imran Baldi Shahid, 45, tortured the terrified lad on a 200-mile return trip trip to Dundee. He was stabbed 13 times. Why is it not using the fucking arrow key? Sorry. He was stabbed 13 times, then doused in petrol and torched while still alive in the east end of the city. Ringleader Imran was caged for at least 25 years, while brother Zishan Crazy Shahid was locked up for 23 years for the horrifying murder. Sickle pal Muhammad Faisal Mushtaq is also serving life for the killing. A Scottish Conservative Party spokesman said, "This is an appalling attempt to hijack a tragic murder with no regard for the grieving family by groups that seek to promote hate." And this is coming from a fucking Scottish Tory, by the way. Absolute cuckoldry from that politician. A PA Scotland petition to have an M8 footbridge named after Chris was blasted by Glasgow City Council chiefs as shameless last year. That's what we just talked about just now. And I believe this is meant to be a quote from Kenny Smith himself. PA Scotland national organiser Kenny Smith said, "Our focus remains on our people and raising awareness about our demographic decline and the anti-white hatred that makes true Scots second-class citizens in our own country." Click on the page at the top to use arrow keys. Well, I think I've done that already, Turbo Duck here, but it's still not really letting me do that for some reason, which is weird. But all right, anyways, and here's something interesting about this part here, right? Far-right fanatics left flowers on Chris' memorial bench. Oh no, like the absolute horror. Like, look at these fascist far-right neo-Nazis did to the Chris Donald bench, leaving flowers. It's just like, it's the most ludicrous. Look at these far-right fanatics leaving flowers at the Chris Donald bench. Like, how dare they? What fucking monsters of society they are. God almighty. Anyway, let's have a look here. All right. And there's a scumbag himself, Evil Imran Shahid, 45, was sentenced to life in order to serve at least 25 years for murdering the teenager. Should be getting life in prison during that. I mean, that's too small of a length. And I wonder if there's maybe like a comments section, but I don't really see any. What I can show you, if it doesn't have a comment section, fascist flowers FF. Yeah. If it doesn't have a comment section, I could maybe bring up my Twitter page. Well, not my actual Twitter page, but the Twitter page that was shared on the official Sun page. Let me see if I can get that up here. I'll just come back to this page real quick, and then I'll see if I can find this. Right, my keyboard is not actually working. That's actually the reason. Right, great. Hold on one sec. God damn it, right. It had to be this perfect time regarding to that. This is great. Right, let me see if I can get something sorted with that. Hold on a sec. Let me see. Sec. Let me see here. Wonder if there's maybe a way around it. If I can maybe see if I can get this up here. Because I've seen this on this right here. I'll see if I can get this up real quick. Should be here in a moment. I'll just get this up quickly. Right, should be close now. I'll just get to the minute. Let's see here. Right, let's see. Even Jada Francine went and repainted his memorial and tidied it all up and laid flowers. Now, that's good that she did that. I think PA Scotland also did that for a video, which was, again, really good stuff to see. We did that. Well, we, as in, of course, the Glasgow branch did it, of course, which again was really good stuff. We painted it just so it makes it like look more presentable and all of that, which is really good stuff to see. Yeah, I think I found the page here. Again, this would be on Twitter. Don't really need that anymore, so I'll get this up here. Right. Right, okay. You should be given capital punishment. Oh, I agree. I completely agree with that. So here is the tweet by the Scottish Sun, of course, about the newspaper, about the article itself. Check this out, right? One like, one quote tweet, and there's like multiple comments, by the way, from it. Right, let's see here. Maybe if I can actually get this up here real quick, because I'm curious to see how many comments there are now, because I think that this can't be all of them. Let me see. So there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, there's more. 7. Let's see. Yep, 7 comments. So even this sort of small amount, this tweet right here by the Scottish Sun has been completely ratioed. Completely ratioed. Let's have a look at the comments here. From full natty Scotsman. Horrific journalism from the anti-white Sun. They never write an article condemning the remembrance of Stephen Lawrence or George Floyd. Absolutely true. I'll give a like for that. From Olivia Mosley. There was nothing mock about it, but it doesn't surprise me that the subversives at the Scottish Sun can't wrap their heads around the idea of whites caring about whites. Yeah, again, very, very true with that. Very true. I actually need to leave. I should leave a comment to that as well. Actually, now that I think of it, but I'll see if I can sort out my keyboard in a moment and see if we can get to this here. The Sun is fake news, owned by the Zionist Rupert Murdoch. Do not trust these dishonest hacks. Funny enough, and they also left the link for the Odyssey video for Crystal Memorial 2022. And I would imagine that's for people who are maybe interested in seeing it from our side, will actually check out the video themselves. So actually, that's actually a good shout. That. Wonder if I can maybe retweet that as well. Might give a bit of a boost. Desmond Makazi, FBPE. What's so far right and fanatical about leaving flowers on a memorial bench? Good question, that. Very good question. Let me see here. From Joe, what a dishonest and pointless article. Of course, I had a quote from the political violence lovers over at Hope Not Hate. Here's one from Bad Donkey MK2 or Jamie. Stop twisting the truth, disgusting rag media. This group that honored Chris respectfully offered a touching memorial service. Where was your paper's tribute to his life? Chris was murdered because he was a white boy. His life mattered. Anti-white hate cuts a life short each day. Absolutely true on that. Very true on that, Jamie. Well done. Click a like on that as well. There's more because it might contain. Oh, there's a lot more. Right, that's good. That's actually really good to see. What a disgustingly dishonest article. You should hang your heads in shame. I agree with that here. They sound like a good bunch of lads going down to Chris's memorial bench and laying flowers and saying a few words. Didn't hear anyone in the media or political circles putting out a message on the anniversary of his racially motivated murder. P.S. What's a mock memorial? You know, I never actually thought of that. That's such a really good question. Like, what exactly is a mock memorial? So we want to remember somebody, but it's meant to be fake, or it's meant to be like not real, or if that's the case, then what's the whole point in doing that exactly? Like that doesn't make a lick of sense in any shape or form. But I never really thought of that until that tweet just now. That's actually a really good point. The days of the mainstream media hiding hate crimes against white people are coming to an end. I agree with that there. Then there's this one tweet that I thought was really interesting. I'll get to that in a second here. This one from Brits After Brexit. Why for years have separatist loon Salman, his mistress, and cronies tried to cancel British nuclear deterrent? It's not what you think. It's because these traitors have been in pay of Russia, encouraging them to destabilize UK's NATO membership. ND-ref yes vote was a vote for Putin. Okay, like what exactly does that mean? Like what does that have to do with what's being brought up here or anything like that at all? I have no idea. That's really bizarre. That's really bizarre. But anyway, I think we'll move on from there because obviously the Sun newspaper or the Scottish Sun are run by complete scumbags who are basically this is the funny thing about this, right? And I know this isn't like an original point to make, and I know that other articles have done this, but here's a point to this, right? Everything what the article said of what we're doing or claims what we're doing or anything like that at all, not only is it trying to make us look bad in any way, shape, or form, but at the end of the day, what these news outlets fail to realize, any publicity is good publicity. So basically, this opens the door that many people will actually see the truth by going on to Odyssey or going on to YouTube or Telegram or any other of these social media platforms, may have a further look into PA and think, oh, they're actually not really that bad of a group, and maybe I might be interested in joining in with PA. So it's basically free publicity for us in the long run, whether it be good or bad. Just look at PA Scotland, for instance. Look what happened to Ben Nevis. I mean, how many articles alone were made because of that Ben Nevis banner drop? Now, even though, as I mentioned, I wasn't there to begin with, which I really wish I was there, but the aftermath, I mean, the backlash was just unbelievable. There was like, what, 5, 6, maybe 7 articles about Ben Nevis alone. I mean, that I was really taken aback to that because I never thought, because I thought it was just going to be a standard, banner drop and all of that, but they still did it, and the media just completely read at the whole thing. It was unbelievable, and of course, even now, there's this new article that came out, and at the end of the day, they can try and smear us all they want, but it's only just free publicity. And another thing too, I was going to say, like another point to add, and then I'll finish up and move on to the next part here. I'll be forever, but they booed off Ben Nevis. Well, that's the claim that the mainstream media were making, of course, but apparently, from what I've heard from the guys who were there that day, none of them booed or never heard any booing whatsoever. But anyway, let me see this here. Also, just real quick, European Housewife, thanks very much for watching the show. I greatly appreciate you being here. Also, Dawn Browning, I think I've seen you before on the show. It's 4:45 in the morning here. Shush while I try to get back to sleep. No worries, Dawn. Thank you very much for being here in the first place. And also, James Hayworth, how you doing? Homatalk, thank you very much for being here as well. I greatly appreciate more people tuning into the show tonight. Yeah, as I was saying, just to close off here, finally, English weather. Good evening. Being Guardians, so a wee bit late here. No worries. Thank you very much for being here. Anyway, sorry. I'll just finish off this point and I'll move on to the next article. Everything the mainstream media says about us and the message we're trying to bring across to the general public, this idea of anti-white hatred exists, and if it continues, it's only going to get worse from here unless we speak out against it. Now, the mainstream media, of course, we all know they will smear us, they will attack us in any way, shape, or form. What they're basically doing, whether it be the National, whether it be the Ferret, whether it be the Scottish Sun, or any one of these mainstream news outlets, what they're basically saying is yes, anti-white hatred is happening, and there's not a thing you can do about it. And if you try to speak out about it and being for your people and being pro-white, then you're basically are going to be labeled as a fascist or a Nazi or a white supremacist or any way, shape, or form. So basically what I'm trying to say is they're basically confirming what we've been saying the entire time. and I believe the general public, the more the mainstream outlets will make this point clearer to us, the general public will look at that and think, well, clearly there must be something here if they're actually if they're trying to smear them in such a horrible light. I want to say boo to her. Anyways, I hope I made that point real clear, and I'll just move on to the next part here. I'm checking out the time. That's like 10 to 6 already. I cannot believe that. 50 minutes into the show already, and that's only because of one article in question. Wow. Damn it, my tea's cold. I'm not even finished it, but hey, I might make myself another one later on, but Kingdom of Vinland real quick. At least the anti-white bastards are being honest about their anti-whiteism. Yeah, I mean, as much as horrible as it is, at least they are being honest with that. And I think that does fly out a red flag for a lot of people that, hey, maybe this actually is going on and maybe more people should talk about it. Right then, let's have a look and see the next part here. And I believe the next article in question, I've got these in my notes here. Let me see. Oh, it was, well, I talked about this before, but I thought I would bring this up real quick just to make a point about this. But it's from The Guardian, and it's all about fascist fitness, how the far right is recruiting with online gym groups. I'm sure I've talked about this before on a previous episode, but basically, I wanted to bring this up again because it does kind of tie into what I was talking about just now with the Sun newspaper and the M8 Bridge with the banner drop of Chris Donald. It's in this case with the Guardian trying to portray the fascist fitness group, like being healthy both physically and mentally, trying to improve your life, trying to lose weight and all of that. Basically, if you're somebody who wants a better health life for yourself, or wants to be bettering yourself with health, with fitness and all of that, according to the Guardian newspaper, you're a fascist apparently. Which is just completely unbelievable. But anyway, I think I'll not bring up that article again because I'm pretty sure they talked about this. Yeah, even fitness is criticized. Yeah, please feel free to like the stream. Thank you very much for that, English Rose. Please do so, people, if you haven't done so already. And also, for people in the chat as well, if you can. I know we're about like almost a full hour into the show already, but please feel free to share the stream as well on other platforms if you can, so that more people will come along. I know I see there's actually 50 people watching the show already, which is actually really good stuff, and I'm happy for that. So hopefully more people will come along. But hey, 50 is really good. Well, 51 actually. But thank you, English Rose. Appreciate the comment there. From Joe real quick. All these stunts are exposing the anti-whites. It's all good. Yep, exactly. Pretty much exactly that. If I know, I'll not get into that just now because I talked about this again on the previous show about some of our guys posting the stuff on platforms like Twitter and all of that, and then you get all of these people. Well, mostly positive comments, but you will get some of the commie douchebags who will come out of the woodwork and say, this is just horrible, this is racist, you're promoting hatred, Reed, and all of that. So yeah, I'll just move on from there to the next article. So it won't be them two. I could definitely talk about this because this came to my attention this past week. And I don't know if this guy is part of a group like what was that one group that was annoying people on the public streets and blocking the roads? Is that Extinction Rebellion, I think it's called, or something like that? Some lefty group, I know that. I'll see if I can post it here and then share the screen. Promoting greatness. Yep, definitely that. European Housewife, definitely. From Homa Talk real quick, the only athletic males that these people want to see are the ones competing against women in sports. Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, that's so funny, that, isn't it? Like all of this diversity and all of this transgenderisms and all. I'll come to that in a minute. All this transgenderism and all of that is like, oh well, they're just as female as you and I, bro. And you have all of these men pretend to be women competing in all female sports and athletics and all of that, are basically earning all these awards because they're biologically they're men and they're dominating women. It's really funny to see. It's actually really funny to see that. But I'm just having a quick look at my phone real quick. English rules. I don't know if it was in Insulate Britain. It might be that actually. Now that you bring that up, because I thought it might be Extinction Rebellion. Because I know they could be incredibly cringe, but might be in Insulate Britain. I think we'll have a look at the article anyway and see from there, because I think it's one of those two lefty groups. So they hate and fear the fact many white nationalists indulge and keep fit and bodybuilding, etc. Yeah, because that's what it was partly about, is wanting to better at yourself and trying to improve your life physically and mentally, of course. So, like the Williams brothers, let me see if I can share it here, and then I'll look at this part right now. From Sky Sports, Everton versus Newcastle delayed after man ties himself to goalpost in Goodison Park protest. A protester tied himself to a goalpost at Goodison Park during Everton's game against Newcastle. It took several minutes to remove the man who was protesting over new oil fields in the North Sea before being led away by police. And this was published on Friday. And of course, there's the guy there. There will be a better image of the guy coming up real quick, but this was something else. A man was arrested on Thursday evening after Everton's Premier League game against Newcastle was delayed for 7 minutes when a protester tied himself to a goalpost. The second half was barely 5 minutes old when the game was stopped for the incident at the Gwilades, I hope I pronounced that right, or Gwilades, I think it might be Welsh, I don't know, but if I don't pronounce that right, my apologies. Street end, and the protester was removed only after half a dozen people and bolt croppers were deployed. The man was then led away by police and stewards before the game was restarted, with Alex Iwobi's stoppage time goal securing a vital one. Okay, no one cares about the goal, but just rather the protester themselves. Merseyside police said on Thursday evening, "We can confirm a man was arrested after encouraging onto the pitch during the Everton v Newcastle United Premier League fixture. At around 8:55 p.m, it was reported that a man disrupted the match by running on to the pitch and tying himself to the goalpost at the Howard Kendall Gladys Street end. The suspect, a 21-year-old man." One of those. There's footage of it, but I'll see if I can find another image of the guy, but I can't. But the point here is he does not look 21. He looks older than 21. Actually, can I maybe quickly see if I can find an image of him? Because that's a bit of a surprise. That's a bit of a surprise for me with that. So let me see if I can find an image of him here, because when I first looked at him, I thought, I never imagined him being in his early 20s. There's no way. There's no possible way, in fact. There we go. Let's see if I can. This will be on Telegram. I'll see if I can maybe put this here. And then I will share the screen again. Right then, here's the image of the protester in question. That's him. Now, I want to ask you guys real quick. If you were to see this guy on the street, would you, and you thought about his age, would you look at him and think, yeah, he must be like in his early 20s or at least 21? Because I don't know if it's just me, but looking at him, he doesn't look 21. He looks at least maybe in his 30s or maybe in his early 40s. But he does not look 21. I'm sorry, but he really doesn't look 21 for that matter. I don't know if that was just me, but anyway, I'm actually curious to see what the chat will say about that. Hold on one sec. Sorry, excuse me. I hate drinking cold tea, but anyway. 12 going on 50. Ah, dear. He has a shirt with just stop oil as gallons fall out of his face. Ah, dear. And then, yeah, Budgie Burger Heat. I'll just come out of that again and go back onto this article again. Here we go. So, the suspect, a 21-year-old man, has been arrested on suspicion of pitch encroachment, and he is now in police custody. The game resumed and now has concluded. A second man, age 39, who appeared to confront the protester, was also arrested on suspicion of assault and of pitch encroachment. I don't think I've seen that, but I wonder if maybe that's the video here, but maybe this is like the aftermath of it. Newcastle head coach Eddie Howe reflects on the 1-0 defeat against Everton after a second half in which the game was delayed by a protester. Maybe they do. We'll possibly talk about it. So we'll have a watch of that real quick and then continue on with the article in question. Let's have a look here.
From our perspective, I think that's what's cost us the game. Thought first half we were good, controlled the game. The only thing that was missing in that first period for me was a goal, was being really clinical in the final third, and I think that was missing the entire game for us today. I thought we got into some good positions, but the normal rhythm wasn't there for whatever reason. But second half's a big disappointment.
When they have a man sent off, do you start to think this is our night?
Well, yeah, obviously gives you a big advantage, and we didn't capitalise on that. I thought we didn't deliver the plan that we should have done at that moment. The game was there for us. We made, I thought, some poor decisions by our high standards with the ball, and you're always, you're always liable for counter-attacks and moments that could still cost you the game. You have to be very alert, and we weren't. We made a bad mistake for the goal, and it cost us.
In terms of everything that happened on the pitch, have you ever seen anything that caused that delay tonight? A fan tying himself to a post? No, never seen anything like that. I thought it was I didn't realise what was happening to start with, so it was a big delay, and I don't know whether that, not using that as an excuse, but I don't know whether that affected us. But certainly, second half we weren't the same team. And in terms of your points total, though, you're still getting there, aren't you? I mean, I know you're not safe yet, but I mean, it's still looking very good for you. Yeah, we're not safe, and we've got a lot of work to do, and that's why this really hurts from our perspective, because we pride ourselves on giving our best and delivering a really good performance. But as I said, repeating myself, but I just don't think it was there today, and we need to look at why. You're a boyhood Everton fan, so is there just a little bit of you happy for them? Absolutely not, no.
There we go. So yeah, even they couldn't believe it. It was all going on. Newcastle manager Eddie Howe spoke on his disbelief at the events unfolding in front of his eyes at Goodison Park, and suggested the delay could have impacted the team performance, as he said in the video. Here we go. The 21-year-old was staging a protest representing the views of a group called Just Stop Oil, who are concerned about new oil fields in the North Sea. Okay, so it's not Extinction Rebellion, it's not Insulate Britain. This is apparently like a brand, well, no, I wouldn't say like a brand new group, but some group that formed because of the North Sea, or because of what's going on in the North Sea. But yeah, concerned about new oil fields in the North Sea. Just Stop Oil later released a statement saying at 8:50 p.m. today, a young supporter of Just Stop Oil ran onto the pitch during the Everton versus Newcastle United game to draw attention to the group's demand that the government ends all new fossil fuel supply projects. Lewis, 21, locked onto the goalpost at Goodison Park wearing a Just Stop Oil t-shirt, causing the referee to briefly stop play. Attached to the statement, Lewis, I think, yeah, it might be Lewis, yeah, added his own message: it's 2022 and it's time to look up, time to step up and not stand by. It's time to act like it's an emergency. Okay. Report after report is telling me that my future is going to be dire, and my government is telling me not to worry and pay into a pension. And of course, there's images of the guy being escorted out. and you see some of the fans are just like, oh, cook. So, I got a donation from Rory Herbert. Let's see, hold on a sec. Rory Herbert has donated £3 to myself. Thank you very much, Rory. I greatly appreciate that. Let me see here to continue on from there. Of course, continuing on what this protester said, my generation is being shafted. We face a cost of living crisis, a housing crisis, a fuel crisis, and an unlivable planet. But we have a choice. We can choose to highlight that our climate is breaking down. We can choose to resist this government that is betraying us. We can choose to step up and not stand by. Which, you know what? As much as I would make fun, or we can joke about this guy being like a cuckold douchebag or anything like that at all, he is kind of right when it comes to more pollution being set onto the planet. Now, I'm not wanting to come off as some kind of environmentalist or anything like that at all, but I think when it comes to our circles, when it comes to nationalism, I think it is important to still realize that the environment does play a factor within nationalism and the way we live and all of that. Now, to add on to that, I think another factor into that of what causes more pollution and anything like that at all, a lot of people within our circles would say people like immigration or migrants who come into the country do play a factor when it comes to increase pollution. Now, of course, when you bring this up, you would be labeled as a racist or a fascist or blah blah blah, simply for just speaking the truth about that, and because which is something that's actually been brought up in the past by I believe it's by not necessarily environmentalists or anything like that at all, but people who studied about pollution and whatnot would say something like immigration does play a factor into the increased levels of pollution and whatnot. But no, but let's just again sweep that under the rug because it doesn't fit the narrative. Apparently, it doesn't fit the narrative. But anyway, the incident comes after an attempt by the same group to disrupt Wednesday's game between Arsenal and Liverpool when the protester wrapped his hands around the post, but he was swiftly removed by stewards. Just anyway, and that's the end of that article right there. So I'll just come back onto the page just now. Enviro Moody mentalist. Thank you for that. Chief Rudy, the UK makes 1% of world climate population. Well, there you go. This climate change shit has been going on over a century. The planet is in excellent health, unlike the fuckwits that inhabit it. Yeah, you can't pollute a population. Everyone is lovely. Well, there you go. Man-made climate change is a hoax. CO2 doesn't warm the planet. It's driven by solar cycles. These people have said fuck all about plastic pollution, global overpopulation, and mass immigration. Well, there you go. There we go. From Albion Forever. Right then. Wonder if have a look and see if or just add on to that. In fact, CO2 actually greens the planet as nature's fertilizer. And there's John Powell in the chat. Hello, John. Thank you very much for watching the show. But many years ago, everyone burnt coal to stay warm and oil/gas to produce light. I think we are all right, to be honest. There we go. And of course, English Sailor in the chat is saying immigration is the real pollution, as I said earlier on. Excellent. Right then, let's just have a quick look and see this part here. Perfect. 8 minutes past 6. Right. I want to see and of course keyboard's still not working for me. This is just fan-fucking-tastic. I mean, it's funny because it did this before, and it did work on me earlier on before the show started. As a matter of fact, it did work when the show was going on at the same time, but now all of a sudden it just stops. But I would need to either restart my laptop or maybe even do like a program that would actually fix the problem. But I think I'll do that after the show ends tonight, and then of course I'll see if I can get that sorted out. Streaky Bacon, they keep banging on about the trees, but by far the percentage given goodness is the algae on the ocean. I did not know that. Thank you very much for that, Streaky Bacon. What else to cover? Because I think that was pretty much it, really. I haven't. Well, actually, there is actually something else I can maybe talk about rather briefly. This is something that came to my attention earlier today by some of the guys from PA Scotland, and this is all to do with the Ukraine situation with Russia. Now, I won't talk about that in depth. I'll briefly touch upon, say, the stuff that's currently going on. And I'll see if I can get some of the images up here. As a matter of fact, I've got a video to show you guys about this, which is rather funny. So we hear the stories about the news about the Ukrainian refugees coming into Europe and whatnot. And of course, the more information about this that keeps coming out, it seems to be the Ukrainians are not, or the Ukrainian refugees are not necessarily Ukrainian regarding to that. As a matter of fact, they seem to be a lot more, what's the word, or what continent would they be from? Maybe Africa or something like that, or maybe like African, like colored or anything like that at all. Let's have a look at this video, because I found this earlier on and I thought this was just hilarious. Let's get this up here. Now, it's a rather short video. I think it's about 10 seconds long, but just have a look at this, folks. I'm not too sure if maybe people have seen this already, but this is quite funny. Check this out for a moment, okay? 3, 2, 1.
D'accord, ok. Donc ça, vous me dites que c'est vous?
Oui, c'est moi ça.
D'accord, ok. Mais il y a combien de temps?
Ah, il y a longtemps.
Il y a longtemps?
Plus de 20 ans. Hein.
Ah oui, bah ça doit être il y a très longtemps.
I wanna excuse me. I wanna let's just replay that and then we'll just see from there, all right?
D'accord, ok. Donc ça, vous me dites que c'est vous?
Oui, c'est moi ça.
D'accord, ok. Mais il y a combien de temps?
Ah, il y a longtemps.
Il y a longtemps?
Plus de 20 ans. Hein.
Ah oui, bah ça doit être il y
10
a
to
très
20
longtemps.
years ago. Yeah, they looked exactly the same apparently, right? Yeah, we was Ukrainian and she. Yeah, let's just like scene by scene, right? So here's this immigrant. Let me see. Look at the passport. If I can get to this image here, if I can. I don't know if it will let
Et
me.
c'est vous?
Let's see.
Donc ça, vous me dites que...
Okay, so there's this immigrant's passport, right? And it's got Tiana. I'm not gonna pronounce the last name. But basically, Tiana, right? Clearly a white lassie, right? And as you can clearly see, this is this is supposed to be her. Clearly, the resemblance is uncanny. It's uncanny, the resemblance here. It's like, yes, this is me.
Mais il y a combien de temps?
How
Ah, il y
long
a
ago?
longtemps. Ça
Il y a longtemps.
Oh, a very long time ago, maybe 10 or 20 years ago. Yeah, pretty warm in Ukraine. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, cracking time for the time of year. People say in the chat, well, she must have been in the sunbed for too long. She's just got a tan, Moody. Well, I mean, like, but you can clearly see in that passport photo with Tiana. Now, I don't know what eye color you can see, but maybe actually it might be better with this.
Ah, il y a longtemps. Ça
Il y a longtemps?
If I get to hear
Ah oui,
real
bah ça
quick.
doit être...
I mean, I don't know if that's meant to be blue eyes or green eyes. Either maybe brown, but you can clearly see that like there's no they're clearly different people. They're clearly different people. And this passport, either it was stolen or maybe this is a fake passport. Like it has to be either one of the two. It's just like it's on. Wait, did she really? I know there's this whole thing about IQ and all of that, but you come on, you cannot honestly come up and tell me that if you're like a black person or anything like that, trying to get into Europe, whether it be say the UK or anything like that at all, do you really think people will be this fucking stupid if you're like, hold on, like this woman trying to get off a
Ah
passport
oui, bah ça doit être...
with this image? Like, come on. I know there's people, again, we talk about like IQ and all of that, but come on, there's no way someone can be that stupid or think that the airport security people will be this fucking retarded. There's just There's no way. There's no way. No color, just content. Yeah. So does she work in a coal mine? Oh, for God's sake. let's not let's not get into it anymore like with that. But yeah. Anyway, so um, I'll just come out of that. There's actually more of these, by the way, because I found images. Let's have a look at some of the images I found regarding to that. As I'll just bring it up here. Am I sharing the screen? I am not. Hold on a sec. Here we go. Right. So again, here are some of the images that have been shown about the chief really is called the bell curve. Oh God. Of these quote unquote Ukrainian refugees that are fleeing from the Ukraine because of the current situation with Russia. Refugees fleeing from Ukraine. That's another example there. It's odd because they all seem to be young fighting men of age, regarding to these Ukrainian refugees. It's really bizarre, isn't it? Because when I think of I don't know if it's just me or my racist worldview, folks, but when I think of someone who lives in the Ukraine, I tend to think of someone who is a white person, because the Ukraine, from what I can remember looking through my old geography, it's a country that's in the continent of Europe, which means that the Ukraine would be a European country, which is a continent that has a lot of white people there. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but my intolerant ways, but I wouldn't think of like a black person when I think of a Ukrainian, it's just, maybe that's just me, or maybe a lot of people might agree with this, but it really makes you think, doesn't it? It really gets the noggin jogging there. But anyway, there's more of these. Russian invasion of Ukraine, Belgium, Germany, Denmark, Italy, Iceland closes airspace to Russian aircraft. And I don't know if they're meant to be like a couple, but moving on. Another one here. Well, I think this is Swedish or German. I actually no, I don't think it's German, but basically, again, this article, from what I've gathered, is talked about the Ukrainian refugees, quote unquote, and there's another one of these apparently. There's more images of that. I think they're in Poland. Looking through the country badge the soldier has. Again, Ukrainian refugees, by the way, if I may say. No matter the crisis, the outcome is always us being flooded with fighting age African men for Albion Forever. Definitely true. Is it German? Hold on. Oh, yeah, it might be German because, from the wording here. I thought that might be Swedish, but I might be wrong. But I think it might be German now that Albion Forever says that. Thank you, Albion Forever. From The Independent. Watch live as Ukrainians flee Russian invasion as queues in Mustica. Just like, as you can see, I mean, there's maybe a couple of white people there, but apparently Ukrainian. So, okay. I think I've already got the image up here. Oh, I'll come back to this image in a moment, but Poland-Ukraine border. Yeah, it's the same image. That's fine. Again, this was also brought to my attention regarding to this overall subject matter. To have that image, I'll bring it up in a sec. Here's something that's actually very interesting, folks. And I'm not too sure if people have seen this already, but here's I believe it's meant to be a statistic, if you will, but it reads: how should Canada respond to the Ukraine invasion, vaccinated versus unvaccinated? So the Blues respondents who said they received 3 or more shots, unvaccinated. Respondents who said they were respondents who said, so the blue represents people who have been vaccinated or received 3 or more shots, whereas the orange colored people, the orange colored respondents who said they were unvaccinated. So here's questions like: imposing tougher economic sanctions on Russia. People who have been vaccinated seem to be in favor of that, 86%. Seizing the assets of Russian oligarchs associated with President Putin. Again, people who've been vaccinated, a lot more support for that, 85%. Cutting off oil shipments from Russia, again, vaccinated people support that. Sending additional military equipment to Ukraine, 82% of vaccinated people support that. So on and so forth. But what's really interesting here, folks, dispatching military forces to Ukraine, 30% of vaccinated people support that, while 11% of unvaccinated people support that. Here's something really interesting here. None of the above. 52% of unvaccinated people support this idea. We shouldn't be involved or do anything whatsoever. Whereas the vaccinated crowd, or people who have been vaccinated, of course, 2% would be in favor of the idea of none of the above. Don't know, no response, of course, from the bottom there. So I think, I think that's really interesting to see people who have been vaccinated versus people who have not been vaccinated. From Albion Forever, real quick. Well, by that metric, unvaccinated can mean people who have only had 2 shots. Yeah, that's a valid point regarding to that. That's true, because I remember hearing people talking about people who have taken shots, whether it be first jab, second jab, or maybe a booster shot, but even not receiving a third jab or anything like that, or a fourth, they will now be considered unvaccinated. But yeah, I remember hearing some people say that. The vaccine is a signifier of compliance with the regime. Exactly that. Is this the Ukrainians performing some kind of demographic change? Maybe. Regarding to that, totally sums up their personality. Yeah, especially when it comes to people who have been vaccinated multiple times. It really does sum up their personality, especially seeing this. And there's another one of these right here. Perceptions of war crimes by vaccine acceptance. Please rate the extent to which you agree or disagree with the following statements. I believe Russia is committing war crimes in Ukraine. So if we look through this, don't know, no response, disagree, neither, or agree. Let me see. Canadians, March 9th to the 13th, 2022. Right then. Sorry, excuse me. Let me see. Oh, receive 3 or more doses. Right, that makes sense. Right, okay. So, yeah, so again, as you can clearly see from these stats here, again, the vaccinated people would definitely say that Russia is a terrible country. They're committing war crimes, quote unquote, and they need to be stopped or something like that. Received 2 doses. Let's see, 70% agreed. Vaccine refusers. This is quite interesting. People who 1 or 2 jabs would say like 42% with that. Again, it really is interesting with that, jabbed or not heard, right? It really is interesting to see these types of studies or statistics regarding to, especially what's going on in the Ukraine just now. Let's have a look here. With or without. Let me see. This is just the refugees from the border crisis a few months back, taking advantage of the war to sneak in. Yep. So I'll just come out of like maybe what we can do. I'll show the hold on a sec. Vaccinated or more agreeable. Yeah, I definitely would agree to that. That's because the unvaccinated know that it's our government's committing crimes against humanity. Putin never banned us from seeing our families at Christmas. Yeah, fair point. Very, very good point, actually. I want to showcase the video real quick because I just think it's really funny, and then we'll move on from there.
D'accord, ok. Donc ça, vous me dites que c'est vous?
Oui, c'est mon père.
D'accord, ok. Mais il y a combien de temps?
Il y a longtemps. Ça
Il y a
doit
longtemps?
faire plus de 20 ans. Hein.
Ah oui, ça doit être il y a très longtemps.
That's just really funny. Anyway, I'll move on from there with that. Let's see, close that, don't need that. Go back onto here. Perfect. Right then. So almost at 6:30, but I think almost like half an hour ago until the show comes to an end. And I'll see if I can post a link for Mark's Odyssey in the chat. So if you want to head over to watch tonight's episode of the Nationalist Team, you can definitely head on over before 7 o'clock starts. But before it gets to that time, Lol, that cannot be real. Unfortunately, Resisting the Lies or DJ actually is 100% real. I wish it wasn't real, but it's real. It's 100% real, unfortunately. That will never get old. It never will. We were begged not to see our families. WTF? Yeah, it's sad that, especially when that whole thing was going on with the whole lockdowns and whatnot. Well, yeah, we were begged not to see our families. That's just such bullshit. But anyway, moving on from there, I think what we can do, folks, is that's pretty much all the articles I've covered tonight. Well, I mean, at least until 7 o'clock. What I could ask from everybody in the chat, of course, if they want to, is if they would like to ask me any particular questions or maybe want me to talk about something, anything like that at all, then just fire away in the chat and then any questions or maybe anything to talk about, and then we'll see from there. And also what you can do is if you want to do that, just at Chief Moody, and then I'll see if I can find it on my on the chat. Just have a look at Counter Currents for a moment here on Telegram. Tonight on the Righteous blog, we'll be hosting Tuukka Kuru, the leader of the political party of Finland and organizer of the Awakening Conference, to discuss the Finnish perspective on the Russo-Ukrainian war. Tune in to our D-Live and Odyssey channels. Okay, interesting. Another Luke song. Actually, funny you mentioned that, Picking Guys, because after the show ended, that song I played on the previous episode, that song was actually in my head, and I've actually listened to it multiple times since then. But so yeah, actually, I wouldn't say I'm a Luke Kelly fan, but I did like that song. So maybe I can check out other songs, and then maybe see from there. So anyway, of course we all complied and stayed away from our families. Definitely didn't have a sneaky drive in the dead of night for play. That's class. On the subject of BAMEs, I have been noticing on uptick in politicians in Hollywood referring to black and white Ukrainians. It seems they are planting the seeds to normalize what's to come. Yeah, exactly that. I wouldn't be surprised at that, to be quite honest. But Streaky Bacon, Chief Freddy, have you ever been in a Carry On film? I have not. I think the Carry On film series, that's like an old film series, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was like an old British comedy series, like that was around in the 50s or 60s, if I'm not mistaken. I know there's quite a lot of them, but I've never been in a Carry On film, nor have I ever watched a Carry On film. I've heard of them, but I've never watched them or anything like that at all. This is a good question. Chief Rudy, what is your take on the anti-English rhetoric being highlighted in Scotland recently? I just think it's just completely embarrassing, to say the least. Now, I want to maybe make this point as well, and maybe give you guys a little bit of Chief Moody lore, if you will. But I have a granddad who is very patriotic. He's very pro-Scotland and all of that. He's got a lot of books about Scottish history and all of that. In fact, maybe I can ask him if I can maybe borrow some so I can, read in my spare time and whatnot. But he doesn't necessarily hate the English. I mean, he'll make joke about it, like English, bastard this and all of that. But we do have family members within who do live in England, so it's like, well, we can't exactly hate the English too much, because some of our family members who do live in England are actually beloved by the English people within those communities. And I was brought up with I think it wasn't necessarily with my family. I think it would be, say, my friends who are like pro SNP at the time. And of course, we all know about the SNP, how anti-English they are within the ranks. This idea of like, like 600, 800, 700, or 800 years ago, the Englishman, the Scottish people lived in harmony and all of that, and then the Englishman would invade our homes and rape our women and all of that. It's like, look, that happened. Like, of course, they always talk about the battle for Scottish independence with William Wallace and Robert the Bruce and all of that. But it's like, mate, that was all back then. Like, this is now. That shit is not going on. Like, have you ever heard of a news report, or have you had one of your friends come up and talk to you about how they're settled down in the comfort of their own homes, and then some English Bobby storms in and is like, oh, good evening, governor. I'm going to rape your missus now. Like that never happens. That never fucking happens whatsoever. Would you like your biscuits and tea instead of a can of iron brew? Like, it never happens or anything like that at all. So yeah, I think just to end this part here, I think it's just completely embarrassing at this point in time, this whole anti-English rhetoric, especially when they're trying to bring up all the historical aspects to it. It's like, look, that was back then. This is now. Let's fucking move on from that. It's actually the same kind of thing when it happens in Scotland in terms of sectarianism. This whole rivalry between, say, football clubs like Celtic or Rangers. So, just for a bit of context, for those that don't know, in football, especially here in Scotland, we're very passionate when it comes to football, especially in Glasgow. Now, there's two dominant teams in Glasgow. There's Celtic and there's Rangers. Now, some of you may know, some of you might not know, Glasgow has a bit of a reputation when it comes to sectarianism, when it comes to these football clubs, which is actually kind of funny because both clubs were, at the start when they were first formed, were never actually rivals. They were actually pretty, they were actually, I wouldn't say friendly with each other, but but it wasn't like as like an old firm rivalry than what it is now. And the whole point of that is all to do with the religious aspect of it, or the sectarian aspect of it. So if you were a Celtic supporter, you're basically brought up in a Catholic family. You may have some Irish heritage within you. Like, you may talk about all the stuff about Ireland, and maybe perhaps the stuff about not all of them, but some of them will bring up how their fathers or grandfathers fought with the IRA and stopped with the post office and all of that, and so on and so forth. If you believe that you support the Pope and the Vatican and all of that, as a Catholic, that's what it means to be a Celtic supporter when it comes to this idea of religion or sectarianism. But if you were a Rangers fan, you're basically a Protestant. You believed in the British Union. You're also a unionist. You believe this idea that Scotland should be remained in the Union with England, Wales, and Northern Ireland, and also you have a staunch support for the Queen if you're like a Rangers supporter. Now, because of this, from the current states till now, there's this big rivalry between Celtic and Rangers. So much so, in fact, that I don't know if there's like an official map for this, but some people will say to you, if you go to specific areas in Glasgow, they'll tell you, oh, this is a pro-Celtic area, this is a pro-Rangers area, or in some cases, this area is predominantly Catholic, or this area is predominantly Protestant. So it's like, if you're either one of those two, you have to be kind of really careful where you go to. I mean, not to say that Glasgow is a bad city or anything like that at all. It's actually a pretty good city. It's got a lot of history and a lot of great people that live there. But Glasgow also has a reputation of being a very hard city, especially when it gets to like Friday night or Saturday night. It's like anything could happen at that point. You have to be really, really careful, no matter what. I don't know what would be like the English equivalent to Glasgow in terms of being quoted as being like a hard city to live in, or maybe even Welsh context or anything like that. Like maybe maybe some people in the chat maybe can answer me that if they want to. Like, what would be the English or Welsh, maybe the Irish equivalent to Glasgow in terms of it's a tough city, like it's a hardened city, and all of that. Let me see here. So, in short, I think this anti-English rhetoric is just complete nonsense. It's embarrassing. We need to move on from the ills of the past, if you will, and actually embrace of having a bit of unity within the British Union with the Scots, with the English, with the Welsh, and with the Irish. Because at the end of the day, what's going on in Britain just now with the migrant crisis and all of that, the decrease of our population, if we do not do something about this now, it will be far too late. And even then, if it does happen, if we do become a minority, do you really think they're going to give some groups a free pass because they're Scottish or Irish or Welsh or anything like that, etc.? They won't give a fuck. Because you're white, they will basically harm you in any way, or they'll try and kill you because you're white, regardless of what your nationality is. So in short, I think we need to look past the petty differences and start unifying as a group, as a team at this point. Because if we don't, then it will be far too late, in fact. Let me see, Turbo Duck Kid. Can you put the black girl white passport video on your Telegram? I'll do that after the show ends, Turbo. I'll definitely post that after the show ends tonight. Let me see here. It's from Spybot. Chief Rudy, really enjoyed your speech. When do you do another? What subject will you choose? That's a good question, Spybot. Thank you very much for asking me that. I mean, it's just like with my first debate I've had last year. I'm definitely open for another one. So, in this context, when it comes to like another speech, I really don't know when I will do a second one. Hopefully, I might do it at some point. Maybe if there's another big national conference with PA, I don't expect to do it again. Next year. I know Mark and Laura will do it again for next year, but I don't know if I'll be asked to do it again. I mean, I to be quite honest with you, I would pretty much would prefer someone different, maybe like an activist or anyone like that, to maybe give a speech out. Again, it just give other people a shot in the spotlight type of thing. So I wouldn't be, well, not surprised. I wouldn't be, I don't think I would give a speech next year's conference, but maybe sometime in the future, if they don't have anyone for a slot, or maybe they want another person, and if you want me to give another speech at some point, then I'd be very happy to. I would say the closest to that for a second speech. I'm not saying this is confirmed, but I don't know if this would ever happen. But for this year's PA Scotland conference. For the second year. I don't know when that's going to happen, but I think there's talks about maybe that's happening at some point. But when it comes to speeches, if they want me to give out a speech for that conference, they don't have to, but if they want me to, I'd be very happy to do that. And maybe that will give me a chance to maybe give out like a better speech that time around, but I don't know. We'll definitely see with that. Now, in terms of the subject, what I would cover, that's a really good question. That would be something I would ask Kenny or Sai, again, if they wanted to do a second PA Scotland conference for later on this year. That would be something I would definitely ask them. Hey, my first ever speech was about my time. It's about nationalism, embracing the struggle and all of that, and giving people I guess you would see in my backstory how I got into the movement to begin with. I talked about that. What should I talk about this time from a second speech? I mean, I think maybe I could talk about the idea of brotherhood, like in terms of community building and all of that, and maybe I don't want to make another Kenny's speech. Kenny's made a really great speech at this past conference about activism and how a lot of the slackers, if you will, are not really participating in the fight, to save our people and whatnot. I want to make a speech like that, but I don't want it to be but I think Kenny summed it up perfectly with that. Honestly, I don't know. Maybe I'll talk about Brotherhood at some point with the second speech, but that depends on when that will happen, whether it be this year's PA Scotland conference or the next. Maybe not the PA conference for next year, but maybe another conference in the near future with that. So I'm definitely open for the idea of a second speech, but again, only with that, we'll just need to wait and see what happens with that. So, what song for St. Andrew's Day is that? Oh, not entirely too sure. I just want to have a look and see when exactly is St. Andrew's Day. Hold on 1 second here. Let me see. Just check this real quick. I know it was St. Patrick's Day like not too long ago, but St. Andrew's Day. Hold on 1 sec. Let's see. When is that exactly? St. Andrew's Day, November 30th. Ah, right. Okay, so that's a long while away. In terms of the question, what song to play for that night, I have no idea. I'll definitely think of something when the time comes, of course. So, answer your question, Durham Fox. Let me see. That must be the worst fake ID in history, definitely. Streaky Bacon, thanks, Chief. I didn't think you had. We love the Carry On films in my house. Excellent stuff. Let's see. Johnny Powell, MBE. Didn't follow any of their BS agenda. Went to work, saw who I wanted when I wanted. Had friends around. I will never live my life on to say so of a government. Fart that shite. Fair enough. Picking Guys 1972. Chief Pretty, you ever seen Tarzan, how he integrates in the jungle? That's a. I think who was it that talked about that actually? It was one of the streams. I don't know if it was PA Talk or anything like that at all, but oh no, it wasn't. I think it must have been. Was it Mike Enoch show or the right stuff or no, the Daily Show or one of those shows? I was watching on TRS. I can't remember which show exactly, but I think they did somewhat talked about that, about Tarzan and how he well, in terms of the original works, the original book or novel, not specific like adaptations after that, but I do remember they talked about that. So let's see. Carry On nationalism is good, I see. Seemingly around 30% of the Ukrainians are from elsewhere. That didn't surprise me. I mean, we had Turkish and Moroccan, etc., over here via the Syrian scheme. I see. I did not know that. English Sailor. Chief Moody, would you, as a proud Scot, be happy to stop receiving the millions of pounds that get sent from English taxpayers? I mean, I wouldn't mind, to be quite honest, but I don't think I would lose any sleep out of it. But if I didn't receive any money or anything like that at all, I mean, I wouldn't lose any. I would just carry on as it is and not not lose any sleep because of it. But anyway, hopefully I've answered your question for that, says English Sailor. Carry On jogging set in Croydon. I see. Interesting in that. Sid James was a small hat. Back to the Future set in Croydon. Carry On Croydon. She borrowed them too. Let me see. There's a lot of comments coming through. That must have been when I was going through the tangent of what I was said earlier on. Let me see here. Sid James was from South Africa. There's no English equivalent of Glasgow. All right. I would have thought maybe Manchester or Liverpool would be something like Glasgow, like a hardened city, or maybe Blackpool, for instance. But all right, that's interesting. That's interesting. That Gamma Sandwich. Everyone's quoting the Carry On films. Carry On Ukraine. Carry On Grappling. Carry On Cutting. Carry On Shelling. Carry On Circumcision. Oh, Jesus Christ. When are you getting a loudspeaker, Moody? I'm not entirely too sure. I thought maybe the volume might be all right here, but I don't know. I didn't actually think I would need a loudspeaker, um, but I mean, you never know. Maybe in the near future I might get one, but you never know at some point. Everyone in the chat is pretty much just naming Carry On with that. So November 30th, when it comes to St. Andrew's Day, Carry On, certainly is a Carry On. So was Bernard Brothers. I would have a communist tattoo on my head for $1,000. Let me see here. And that's me all up to date with the chat just now. Well, I mean, anyone tried beaver curry? It's like a normal curry, but otter. Okay. Dear me. It's a good thing the show went on as long as it did, tonight's episode, without my keyboard working, because my keyboard is acting like a fucking boomer. We're just almost coming to a close, so it's just 1:45. So I mean, if anyone has any other questions to ask me, oh, here we go from Gamma Sandwich. It's not a question, but still, Chief Moody, most English cities have hard areas. There isn't one that is all hard areas, right? That's fair enough. Maybe Glasgow's like that in terms of it has a lot of hard areas, but that's fair enough. Anyway, anyone else have any questions to ask or anything to say, like anything at all? Because while I wait for that, or any questions to come in, or anything like that, at this rate, I'll just see if I can get the link for Mark's Odyssey, and then I'll post it in the chat just now. And then when I'm also waiting, I'll also see if I can find an outro song for tonight. And then we'll see from there. But I really have enjoyed tonight's episode. I hope everyone has enjoyed tonight's episode as well. And I'll be back on... If nothing comes up in terms of jobs or anything like that at all, I'll be back on Thursday the... What date would that be? Thursday the 24th of March. And that'll be for episode 72. Hold on one second here. Oh, Chief Moody, what's your favorite flower? That's I've never really been asked that before. In terms of like your favorite flower. Favorite flower. I would say if I had to pick one, I would say the thistle, because it's a national symbol of my country. But there we go. Right, let me see if I can find Mark's. I'm sure he shared it on his Telegram. If I can find it real quick, or maybe I can actually find it here. Wait a minute. Let me see. That'll be a separate thing. Right, one sec. Right. So let's see if I can find. There we go. Found this page. Right. Right. So copy and paste that. Copy link. Oops, didn't want to open that. It's a pansy, admit it, Chief. It's not. Let me see here. You be Daffy, I'll be Dilly. A buttercup from English Sailor, right. I don't know why this is opening up. I didn't want this to open. There we go. Right, that should be fine. Right, what I'll do, folks, is I won't post it in the chat just now because I think it's just a little bit early. Let me just hold on a sec. Carry On Tripping, starring Darren Abbas. I'm just going to quickly turn on my bedroom light because it's getting to the time of night where it's just getting a bit dark. So I'll be 1 second. Let's see here. All right, here we go. What is that exactly? Oh, that's from earbud, right? From earpiece. Right, let's see here. Excuse me. Right. All right then. Perfect. Anyone else have any questions or anything like that? It could be anything at all. Just feel free to ask in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer it before we end the show tonight. Let's see. What was another thing that was good? Oh yeah, that's right. Well, that I'm waiting for that. It's like picking someone from the Congo as Human of the Year. Ah dear. Going to this real quick. All right, it's on the main page for that, right? That's fine. Okay. Cool. Right, let's see if I can find an outro for tonight's episode. Let's see. On this playlist here, I want to play something that I never normally play on the show. So see if I can find something here. Let me see. That's fine. I can maybe copy that again. That's fine. Okay. Right. Okay. Let's see here. Oh yeah, I should open it on my phone here in a sec. Not yet. There we go. Oh, that's a long song. All right. Okay. Maybe I can play one of these. Okay. Right, open up here. We'll see if there's any questions in the chat, and I'll be answering them just now. Here's one from English Sailor. Chief Moody, have you got a view on the NATO nuclear sub base being in Scotland? Well, I don't think we should really have it, to be honest, but I mean it's there. But I think, if all honesty, I think that's something we should never have to begin with. Especially, when I'm saying that, I don't want it to be moved across like anywhere else, say like England or Wales or Northern Ireland. But it definitely is something that we definitely should not have whatsoever. So I think because it's not really our decision; it's more like a NATO's decision. So I agree. From Rory Herbert, definitely we shouldn't have that to begin with. Maybe post your coffee link. All right, if you want to. I'll just end it here with that. Thank you very much for pointing that out, Rory. So what I'll do, folks, is as Rory pointed that out in the chat. Hold on one sec. I'll just post it here. Not just that, as Rory did earlier on, donated £3 to myself. If you would like to support me financially through Ko-fi or through directly to my PayPal link, I'll just post the links for them in the chat just now. Hold on one sec. Paste them here, and there we go. Pajit, CEO of fires 900 Americans via Zoom, hires all Indians. Been happening since the 90s. Damn, that's horrible. That's the link from a Ko-fi page, and here's the link from a PayPal. And what time is it? Right, I'll post these and I'll see if I can get the link for Mark's stream. And finally, there's the link for my PayPal account. So again, as Rory said in the chat, we're sharing those links in the chat just now. If you want to support me financially via my Ko-fi page or my PayPal page, then you could definitely do so through the links in the chat just now. And of course, if you would like to donate to me financially, again, that'd be very great for you to do that. I really appreciate your generosity. If you don't want to do that, then again, that's completely fine to do so. The option is there regarding to that. So if you want to donate to me via Ko-fi or PayPal, then the links will be in the chat just now. I wonder if I can maybe put the links. I'll do that towards the end of the show. After that, for the people who may have missed the stream and might want to do it, after the stream ends, and of course it's now live on my channel, kind of a thing. So anyway, just approaching towards the end of the stream tonight. I'll post the link for Mark's Odyssey channel just now for his the Nationalist team stream tonight. I'll post it here. So there we go. Is there any other links to put out as well? I wonder. Hold on one sec. No, that's it. Right, that's fine. Perfect. I don't know if Mark also has like an entropy kind of thing, but I'm sure they might bring that up within that stream as well. So when it comes to Mark's entropy, if he brings it up during that stream, if you have any paid or unpaid questions to ask Mark, I'm sure he'll put the link for his entropy in the link for that stream. But anyway, that's the link for tonight's Nationalist team stream on Mark's Odyssey. If you want to check it out by the time the show ends tonight, the link is right there for everyone to see. But until then, thank you all very much for watching tonight's episode. I greatly appreciate it. As I mentioned earlier on, I will be back on Thursday the 24th with episode 72 of the Mood of the Nation podcast. I might do something then, but you never know, but we'll definitely see with that. And as I'll mention one last time, if you want to support me financially, you can definitely do so on my Ko-fi page. The link is in the chat, or directly to my PayPal page, which again, the link for that will be in the chat as well. Again, if you want to, regarding to that is. With that, thank you all very much for watching tonight's episode. I greatly appreciate your ongoing support. Honestly, it really means the world to me. I greatly appreciate everyone for coming along, especially for tonight with all of the Carry On titling of the Carry On films. I greatly appreciate that. So thank you, as always, for a lovely stream. Stay safe, everyone. Same to yourself, English Rose. I appreciate you being here. Cheers, Chief. Thank you very much, Spybot. And had a chap knock on the door asking for donations to the local swimming pool. I gave him a glass of water. That's quite funny, that. Perfect. Right, no worries. So again, thank you all very much. This is Chief Moody signing out. You have been watching the Mood of the Nation podcast. I will see you all in the next episode. Take care, stay safe, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. Thank you, and good night.
Turning and turning in the widening gyre. The falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed. And everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming. Hardly are those words out when a vast image out of spiritus mundi troubles my sight. A waste of desert sand, a shape with lion body and the head of a man. A gaze blank and pitiless as the sun is moving its slow thighs. While all about it, real shadows of the indignant desert birds. once again. But now I know. The 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed tonight by a rocking cradle. And what rough beast. Its hour come round at last. Slouches towards Bethlehem. To be born.
Individual